For a short period of time, Tim Lincecum was the most dominant pitcher in baseball, winning back-to-back Cy Young Awards and helping the Giants secure 3 championships. But what if I told you that just a few years after his incredible success, he seemingly disappeared without a trace? Well, that's exactly what happened, and to figure out the truth behind his rapid decline, let's go back to the beginning, when he was born on June 15th, 1984. Lincecum was raised in Seattle, Washington, where he would start playing baseball at just 5 years old. And under the guidance of his father, who had pitched in college, he would develop incredible skills at a young age. But for many years, his dreams of playing in MLB seemed almost impossible. When he first entered high school, he stood at just 4'11", weighing 85 pounds. And unfortunately, Lincecum was often overlooked by coaches due to his size. But despite this, he only continued to develop his skills. So when he eventually grew to 5'11" as a senior, his fastball was suddenly reaching up to 94 miles an hour. This would allow him to put up incredible numbers, earning him a full ride scholarship to the University of Washington. And over the next few years, he would emerge as one of the best pitching prospects in the entire nation. In college, Lincecum would dominate the same way he did in high school, putting up an incredible 1.94 ERA in his junior season. So despite growing concerns about his size, he was proving everyone wrong, with his coach saying, "I've never seen anyone dominate the way he has." By this point, he was consistently throwing mid-90s, and even reaching up to 100 miles an hour. To many, it made zero sense how such a small kid could generate so much power, earning him the nickname The Freak. But it was thanks to this natural ability that in 2006, he was selected 10th overall by the Giants. And less than a year later, the team decided to give him a chance. However, following his debut in May of 2007, it became clear that he still had a lot to work on. His first major league start did not go as expected, as he would allow 5 runs in less than 5 innings. And following that game, Giants general manager Brian Sabean made it clear that Lincecum would need to earn his spot on the team, saying this: "You'd like to think he's up here for good, but there are no guarantees." Although, it wouldn't take long before any doubts surrounding Lincecum completely disappeared, because on May 17th, he would pitch an incredible game, going 7 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. And it was thanks to performances like this one that he would eventually earn a spot in the starting rotation. However, no one could have predicted what would happen in 2008. But first, I want to give a quick thanks to Vessi for sponsoring today's video. Pretty soon, I'm going on a trip to Colorado, and it's gonna be much colder there than what I'm used to here in Texas. But thanks to Vessi, I don't have to worry about what shoes I'm gonna wear when I go. Now, they have a bunch of different styles to choose from, but the ones I went with are called Stormburst low tops. And for someone who likes to wear the same pair of shoes no matter what I'm doing, these are pretty much perfect. A few things that I really like is that Vessi's are much easier to put on compared to my other shoes, and they also have noticeably more grip on the bottom. Not to mention, they keep my feet super warm, so I'm really excited to use these in Colorado. But maybe the best part of all is that they're waterproof, meaning that I don't have to be switching shoes depending on the weather. So if you want to keep your feet warm and dry this winter, go to vessi.com/averagebaseball or scan this QR code to get 15% off your first order at checkout. At the beginning of 2008, Lincecum displayed a massive improvement in terms of command, resulting in less walks and more strikeouts. So, unsurprisingly, he got off to a much better start compared to 2007, posting a 1.73 ERA in the month of April. And it was because of this early dominance that he would finally get the respect he deserved, with one of his teammates saying this: "In my 13 years in the big leagues, this is the only guy I've seen who really is worth the hype." On July 7th, he was featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated before being named an All-Star for the first time in his career. Lincecum would carry this momentum into the second half of the season, pitching his first complete game shutout on September 13th. And by the end of the year, he was leading MLB in strikeouts. So in only his second season, he was crowned the decisive winner of the Cy Young Award. And with this achievement, he had proven that despite his size and odd delivery, he was able to rival even the best pitchers in baseball. But it was around this same time that many would begin to worry about his future. For years, scouts had voiced their concerns about his violent pitching motion, which they believed could cause his body to break down over time. Although, according to his father, Lincecum had nothing to worry about, saying that Tim can throw all day and never get hurt. So, fueled by his recent success, he would continue to dominate the following season. In June, he would pitch 3 complete games in the span of just 4 starts, contributing to his second All-Star selection. But even more notably, he would win the Cy Young Award for the 2nd year in a row. Though, despite this incredible achievement, the Giants would fail to reach the postseason yet again. That is, until 2010. During the offseason, the Giants awarded Lincecum with a 2-year, $23 million deal. And with the help of rising stars like Madison Bumgarner and Buster Posey, the Giants would secure a spot in the postseason for the first time since 2003. So, faced with his first opportunity to lead his team to a championship, Lincecum would dominate throughout the postseason. Their first opponent was the Braves, and in Game 1, he would set the tone for the rest of the series, pitching a complete game shutout. The Giants would go on to win the series in 4 games, sending them to the NLCS in a matchup against the Phillies. But once again, San Francisco emerged victorious, and they were headed to the World Series to face the Rangers. Lincecum would get the start in Game 1, and despite allowing 4 runs, the Giants' offense would erupt for an easy win. In Game 5, he took the mound once again, only 1 win away from a championship. But this time, he would easily shut the door on the Rangers, becoming a world champion for the first time in his career. So, in just 3 years, Lincecum had transformed into a superstar, with achievements that could one day earn him a spot in the Hall of Fame. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Following yet another successful season in 2011, expectations were higher than ever for 2012. But after suffering a back injury during spring training, Lincecum did not start off well. In just his first 3 starts, he gave up 16 runs, and by the All-Star break, he ranked among the worst starting pitchers in MLB. It was clear that something was off, and for one, his fastball had dropped by nearly 4 miles an hour since 2008. But maybe even more concerning was his sudden loss of command, resulting in the highest walk rate of his career. So despite being on top of the world for the past few years, one sports writer said this about Lincecum: "For those who are hoping for the 2008 or 2009 version of Lincecum to return, don't hold your breath. That Lincecum is long gone and will never come back. It was fun while it lasted, but all good things come to an end." He would end the season with the 4th worst ERA in baseball. So when the Giants found their way back in the postseason, the team had no choice but to move him into the bullpen. However, with the drive to overcome his failure, Lincecum would pitch surprisingly well, allowing just 1 run in 5 relief appearances. And following an easy sweep in the World Series, the Giants had won their 2nd title in 3 years. So, with a restored sense of confidence, Lincecum would approach the upcoming season with a positive mindset, saying this: "Last year, I had a lot of questions. I was trying to change a lot of things at once. Getting my mind back to a stable point where I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, I feel like my confidence is back. I have to get out there and prove myself." On July 13th, Lincecum would have the performance of his lifetime against the Padres, pitching a no-hitter on 148 pitches. Though, unfortunately, this would not be enough to earn him an All-Star selection, as throughout the season, he was far from dominant. And the same was true in 2014, because despite throwing another no-hitter, his numbers simply didn't justify a spot in the rotation. So, with the Giants back in the hunt for a championship, Lincecum would sit on the bench. And despite his absence, the team would make it all the way back to the World Series to face Kansas City, when in Game 2, he finally made an appearance. However, after facing just 5 batters, he would leave the game with an injured back. Nonetheless, San Francisco would end up winning in 7 games, emerging as world champions for the 3rd time in 5 years. But for Lincecum, things would only get worse as time went on. At this point, he was only 31 years old, but following yet another rough start in 2015, fans began to wonder how much time he really had left. After all, his fastball was sitting at just 88 miles an hour, a significant drop-off from his days of mid-90s. So it was only fair to assume that his body had finally reached its breaking point. And throughout the season, these fears would unfortunately be proven right. On June 27th, Lincecum was hit by a line drive on his pitching arm, forcing him to leave the game. But what he didn't know at the time was that this was the last time he'd pitch in 2015, because in September, it was announced that he had been dealing with a hip condition for the past several years. And because of this, he needed to undergo surgery that would end his season. Lincecum was devastated, but rather than giving up, he instead used this as an opportunity for a fresh start. 2015 had been the final year of his contract, meaning that he was now a free agent for the first time in his career. So after restoring his strength over the offseason, he would take the mound at an MLB showcase with the hopes of signing a deal. And sure enough, the Angels took a chance, giving Lincecum one final season to prove himself. But unfortunately, the results were no different. In just 6 starts, he would allow an astonishing 30 runs, and eventually, he was sent down to AAA for the rest of the season. In 2017, he would go unsigned, completely vanishing from baseball for most of the year. And despite getting a deal with the Rangers in 2018, he wouldn't make a single appearance at the major league level. So just like that, Lincecum's career was over. However, despite it being cut short, his legendary run will never be forgotten. Because with 2 Cy Young Awards and 3 championships, Tim Lincecum was once the greatest pitcher in the world. And if it weren't for injuries, he certainly would have been headed for the Hall of Fame.